We're on the march. The Empire's on the run. Alex Jones and the GCN Radio Network.
Using unparalleled research in the development of a synergistic formulation based around the key concepts of super oxygenation, the next level in cleansing is here. With key ingredients backed by real clinical studies, the new Oxy Powder, available through InfoWars Life, was invented during Dr. Group's research on the toxification of our bodies. Many herbal colon cleansers are harsh on the body and contain cheap and potentially dangerous ingredients, oftentimes full of synthetic fillers, GMOs, additives, or worse. Gently start cleaning your body with easy capsules that start working while you sleep. Oxy Powder does not require time off work, and there's no need for bad tasting concoctions. Instead, Oxy Powder slowly releases monoatomic oxygen into the intestinal tract and body. Experience the astonishing cleansing power of superoxide and ozonide technology. Go to InfoWarsLife.com or InfoWarsStore.com to get started with Oxy Powder, or call 1-888-253-3139.
This December marks 20 years that I've been on the air. Kicking off on Cyber Monday and throughout the entire week, we're offering the biggest sales in the history of Infowars.com, celebrating my 20 years on air. And we do it by bringing our listeners the very best high-quality products. Free shipping store-wide on Pro Gun, Made in America t-shirts. High-quality water filtration systems. But not just free shipping. 30% off Super Male Vitality. 20% off all colloidal silver. Buy 4, get 1 free. With your purchase of 1 bottle of DNA Force, you get 2 free bottles of Survival Shield Nascent Iodine, absolutely free, a $60 value. We're also offering 50% off a year membership at PrisonPlanet.tv and upping the number of people that can use each membership to 20. 20 years on air, and InfoWars is celebrating it with the biggest sale we've ever had. InfoWarsStore.com or 888-253-3139.
In the near future.
When you realize how fake it all is, the football, the basketball.
Alert. Security alert. This is Homeland Security. Analysis. InfoWars building independent media operations.
We let the worst people get control and tell us that we are the ones responsible.
Prime directive. Discredit Alex Jones.
Jones is the wildly popular conspiracy theorist.
A popular conspiracy theory talk show called InfoWars.
Alex Jones is now in an Austin jail.
These people are assaulting us.
Targeting of patriots engaged.
They are never going to stop. They're never going to deviate from their program until we stop them.
Block free iPhone app at Infowars.com. Block free podcast and video feed. Imperative. Destroy Prison Planet TV.
You gotta set your eye on the enemy, not worry about what propaganda they put out. Intellectually, it's begun. You can feel it.
I'll show you politics in America. Here it is, right here. I think the puppet on the right shares my beliefs. I think the puppet on the left is more to my liking. Hey, wait a minute. There's one guy holding up both puppets. Shut up. Go back to bed, America. Your government is in control.
Defending the Republic from enemies, foreign and domestic. It's Alex Jones.
Welcome back to the Alex Jones Show. I'm David Knight in Austin. I'm joined by Paul Joseph Watson in the UK and Lionel in New York. And we're talking about excessive police force. I'm going to go back to them in just a moment. Paul's has some questions that he didn't get a chance to ask Lionel yesterday. That's why we're doing this again today, because this is a huge issue. There's a lot of different elements involved in it. So we were only able to touch on a couple yesterday. But I want to tell you before we go back, we have our Cyber Week specials still up at InfoWars Store. We have free shipping store-wide. We have silver back in stock, 20% off. You have free shipping on a limited amount, but it's going to sell out soon. And once it does, we're not going to be able to get it back for probably another 6 weeks or so. We have a Super Prep Pack, which is Silver Bullet and Survival Shield for $15 off. And if you buy 4 silver bullets, you get 1 for free. We also have DNA Force, where you can get 2 bottles of Survival Shield free at a $60 value. You get 30% off all Super Male and Super Female products. And, of course, we have Prison Planet memberships that are regularly $60 are now only $30 a year. That's 7 months for free. That's only $2.50 a month. That supports our operation there, our bandwidth, supports our reporters, as well as our excellent crew that's there. That's one way that you can get the news every night, and the news last night was excellent. If you haven't had a chance to take a look at that, you can see parts of that up on YouTube, but if you have a subscription, you can see it when it happens every night, every weeknight at 7 Central, 8 p.m. Eastern. Let's go back to this discussion as we were talking about how they're using racism to throw people off the track. I think it's really, excuse me, very much like a red herring. And, of course, Paul can correct me if I'm wrong, but back in the UK, they've banned, I believe, fox hunting now. But before they did that, the people who didn't like fox hunting would throw the dogs off of the trail by taking a particularly smelly fish, a red herring, and dragging it behind the trail of the fox. So once the dogs hit that spot, that was it. They were done. And so now we've got this particularly stinky thing that we've got a long history about, racism, and they trot that out every time to get us off of the trail of the real fox, which is excessive use of force, the way they're training the police, the rules of engagement that they're giving them, even having them call us civilians. And, of course, that's something that's been programmed for a very long time, even going back to Dirty Harry movie. That's the first time I noticed it, was in a Dirty Harry movie when I was a kid, calling people civilians. I thought that's kind of funny, but it's not funny anymore. I'm not laughing now. Gentlemen, go ahead. I'll let you ask any follow-up questions, Paul.
Yeah, I was just going to ask, obviously yesterday we covered the Garner case mainly, which, you know, I saw as a travesty of justice. I was called a cop hater for that. You know, lost friends over that. Lost friends over supporting the grand jury decision in the Brown case, got death threats over it, because I looked at the evidence that was publicly available, the 3 autopsies, the eyewitness reports, the eyewitnesses that changed their statements after the autopsies came out, which I thought was crucial, and the threatening behavior towards eyewitnesses before the grand jury investigation even began that came out in the police reports. So I just wanted Lionel, from his legal perspective, to break down from the evidence that's available and ask him if he agreed with the conclusion of the grand jury in the Michael Brown case.
Let me ask you something, Paul. Do you believe racism exists anywhere on the planet?
Yes, absolutely.
Good. If you answered no to that, that's a problem. Number 2, do you think the case of espionage would make sense in the Michael Brown case or in the Eric Garner case? Espionage. Charging the officers, Darren Wilson and Pantaleo, with espionage. Do you think that charge makes sense?
Doesn't make sense to me.
You're a racist. You're a racist. You see, you say espionage, people would say, no, that's ridiculous because there's no evidence of espionage. That's not the right charge. That's what this is about. So what you're doing is you're saying, I'm not saying there's no racism. I'm not saying the Michael Brown case was handled correctly. Now, let's change forums, Paul. Let's have a civil case, a civil jury. Now, we're looking at whether money damages should be awarded to the Michael Brown family or the Eric Garner family based upon police negligence. What would you say about that?
I would say that's more reasonable, but given the fact that this civil case in the Trayvon Martin example remains open and seems to be going nowhere, it seems the federal government isn't that interested in pursuing it, either in the Trayvon Martin case or the Brown case.
Now, the civil case in our system, as you know, for example, in this case, you have a number of different tribunals. Let's take Eric Garner. 1, the state of New York in Staten Island, Richmond County, can bring a criminal case, people of the state of New York versus Officer Pantaleo. Okay, that's a criminal charge. That's a first forum. Another possibility is the family. Remember, the state of New York versus, in a civil case, it's the family of Eric Garner versus Officer Pantaleo, the city of New York, the state of New York, whatever, for money damages. The plaintiff is the family seeking money damages. In a criminal case, the plaintiff, in essence, is the state seeking justice or incarceration. Third tribunal, third possibility, an administrative hearing, which we don't hear about. Officer Pantaleo in the Eric Garner case may be bounced from the roles of the New York City Police Department because he violated a rule and an administrative rule they had about, quote, chokeholds, which I submit it wasn't, and I guess I'm a racist too. Next tribunal, the United States government, the people of the United States versus Officer Pantaleo for denying Eric Garner's civil rights. That's really tough because it would have to be evidence that Officer Pantaleo showed or indicated a racial animus. If he said, for example, I'm going to choke that, whatever, that may help. So do we understand 4 perhaps different tribunals, same death, 4 separate ways of handling it? In the criminal case, Paul and David, let me ask you this. What should Officer Pantaleo have done? This is Eric Garner. In a case where he has been, people of Staten Island called the police and said, listen, this guy Eric Garner, and by the way, have you noticed that whenever you talk about Eric Garner, you always have to say, it's a tragedy, it's a tragedy, sorry that he died, as though you have to say this incantation. Of course it's a tragedy. But people called the cops and said, hey, I'm a taxpayer. This guy's back peddling cigarettes. It's not the crime of the century. Get rid of him, NYPD. Do your job. All right, David, Paul, we're all in the police car. We're summoned. What do? No. Tell those shop owners this is chicken stuff. That's not an important charge. We're not interested. Even though he's been arrested, I don't know how many times in the past, and even those store owners are saying, this guy's intimidating people. Okay, so we show up. In this scenario, Paul goes over to Eric Garner, this hulking behemoth, and says, all right, that's it, you're under arrest. David and I are your partners. I look at David and I say, I don't think I'm going to help Paul out in this one. He's on his own. And this Eric Garner, very large man, says, I'm not going to, no. I'm not going, or I want to talk about this, or whatever. Every rule in the police department, in the police academy, says we have to protect you, Officer Paul, partner, associate. We've got to contain this situation. We don't let arrestees negotiate. We don't do that. And if you don't like that, you're living in another world. That's the way it's been since time immemorial. There's an old expression, and I talk about it on my Twitter at Lionel Media. I've said this a million times. You can beat the rap, but you can't beat the ride. Gentlemen, what should this officer have done? Not helped out? Not try to bring this man down? Convince him? What?
Well, I think the issue is not that they arrested him over a trivial nonsense law that I don't agree with, but nevertheless, he was breaking the law. They had the duty to arrest him. They had the duty to protect the fellow officers. But when they have him down on the ground, it doesn't appear that their life is in danger. And he's telling them he can't breathe, and they're standing on his head. To me, that looks like what they did to Kelly Thomas, where they beat him to death over a long period of time. He might have been somebody that needed to be arrested because he was a mental case, but to do that to somebody, that says there's something else going on. When somebody breaks into my house, I can shoot them if they're coming at me, but if they're running away, I don't have the right to shoot them in the back.
Kelly Thomas, the schizophrenic homeless man who was beaten, is different because they weren't beating him. Now, in this case, we look at this video. By the way, jump cuts and edited parts removed. If we look at this, I might say, you know what? Boy, that is not good policing. Let's all agree, members of the jury. Great. Next question. Is this murder? Is this homicide? Negligent homicide? Culpable negligence? Let's assume that Officer Pantaleo, because remember, the facts are what dictate this, not racism and the history of but the facts of the case. In this grand jury, whether it was loaded, whether it was fixed, whatever, Officer Pantaleo stated, I either didn't hear or didn't intend to kill. I was trying, perhaps I'm the world's worst restrainer. He's bigger than I am. I suck at this. I never intended to